Good morning, everybody. Welcome all the Cyber Sangha members. Welcome our beautiful, great, wonderful speakers here. It's been a great pleasure to know all of you last week or two, talking and preparing for today's special day. Here we have Dr. 𝐂𝐿 Diaz, and as you can see on the screen here, also Hilde Larsson, and Dr. 𝐂𝐿 Diaz is from Madrid, and Hilde has come from Norway, Stavanger, and then Dr. 𝐂𝐿 from New York, Jamia Oliphant, also from Spain here, and Dr. Punso Wamo from Boston area, right? Amherst area, up there, so in US. So welcome all of you. Today's topic is fasting for healthy body and soul. This topic has been very important for me personally, and for a number of years, I'm always wishing to have conversations like this, and it's also partly a personal journey. And as fasting being a very important part of many spiritual traditions, many religious traditions, and many health approaches, different forms clearly for benefit of health, and also in different time in Tibet for enhancement, for spiritual enhancement, for spiritual development, as Jamia is going to speak. He's the expert here and he will speak more about it. So personally, last couple of years been interested, and also been doing last couple of years, at least 4 times a year. And my longer one is 10 days, and which was very nervous first time doing it. The second time, fine. Third time, better. Now I'm looking forward to do next week another one. So before I'm getting into it, I will learn more today, how to prepare myself better. So welcome all of you. I wanted to start this morning with Dr. 𝐄𝐄 Diaz. And I spoke with her linked, and as she has been a medical doctor and also working in different clinics for a number of years, and always been interested in more integrated approach. And as she said, the diseases are more like a simple symptom, but which tells there is a more deeper issues, more deeper rooted issues in our body, in our even Buddhism, we can think about karmic traces, and clearly she practiced these things in her patients, and she told me that she'd been basically putting almost all of her patients in fasting for 4 to 6 days or 7 days. So anyway, she will be really speaking more from medical perspective, from her medical, how she is practicing both for medical, and she's done some research also. She will also going through those. So please welcome Dr. 𝐄𝐄 Diaz.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. I am really grateful to be here with all of you, sharing one of my passions, one of the most interesting and powerful tools for healing my patients. Well, I would like to thank Rinpoche, Alejandro Chaul, and Juan Carlos Duran for counting on me for this meeting. Well, I'm going to share my slides. So, I think it's working. So, I don't know. Well, my name is 𝐄𝐄, as you know, and I work as a physician helping people to recover their health, enhancing the body's natural rebalancing, and using my knowledge of gut microbiome, environmental medicine, therapeutic fasting, and other natural therapies. And I would like to tell you what I see every day in my consultation. Most of my patients have behind their diseases these 4 common problems. First of all, there is something that we call silent inflammation. This is a chronic inflammation, also called low-grade inflammation, that is behind lots of symptoms and a lot of problems like diabetes, dyslipidemia, high blood pressure, obesity, heart diseases, or chronic diseases. And this is also related to a dysregulation of glucose and insulin levels. And this is something that we have to consider every day in our patients. Most of them also have problems with gut microbiome, like SIBO or intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and leaky gut. That is a situation where it is increased the intestinal permeability. And this is a condition in which gaps in our intestinal walls start to loosen. Another important problem is the toxicity behind lots of diseases. Environmental diseases that are illnesses caused by factors in the environmental, like pesticides, chemicals, radiation, air pollution, or phthalates, bisphenol A, that have been shown to be endocrine disrupting chemicals. And the last one I want to tell you is the oxidative stress, where symptoms appear because of the imbalance between free radicals and antioxidants. And we can see early aging. But this is the reality not only in my consultation. This is a really bigger problem. This is a representation of what is happening worldwide. If you have a look to this slide, you can realize that each day there are almost 150,000 deaths globally. And the problem is that chronic diseases or non-communicable diseases like heart attacks, stroke, cancer, chronic respiratory diseases, diabetes are by far the leading cause of death in the world, representing more than 60% of all deaths. So Margaret Chan, the ex-director of the World Health Organization, affirmed most chronic diseases are considered preventable because they are caused by modifiable risk factors. 42% were premature or avoidable. Chan estimated that if the primary risk factors were eliminated, 80% of cases of heart diseases, stroke, and type 2 diabetes, and 40% of cancers could be prevented with this strategy of 9 global targets that you can see in the slide to reduce the more important risk factors. They are basically hypertension, overweight, and high levels of glucose and fat in the blood. But we have in our hands a really useful health tool called fasting that could be one of the most important interventions to reduce chronic diseases by reducing metabolic risk factors. And the point is that it is really simple and it is free. So what is fasting? Perhaps there are still people thinking this is something strange or dangerous for our health, but scientific researchers give enough evidence of the benefits of this approach to health, so different from other types of diets or treatments. And this is something so natural that we do every night until we have our first meal in the morning. That's why we call it breakfast. So fasting only is the voluntary restriction of food for a certain length of time, living mainly of our reserves. So which are the benefits of fasting? It reduces your body fat and reduces risk of obesity. It controls addiction to food. It reduces insulin levels and lower blood sugar levels, reduces inflammation in the body, increases growth human hormone, also improves your heart health, protects you against neurodegenerative diseases, reduce inflammation of your body, reduce oxidative damage and aging process, spreads your longevity, and many more things, as you can see. But why this happen when we don't eat? Well, our organism begins a metabolic adaptation and activates some biochemical mechanisms like ketogenesis, autophagy as our pass-through, or even in longer fasts, the body actually begins producing its own stem cells. And contrary to what we might think, without starve, because ghrelin, the hunger hormone that is increased, that increases our appetite, declines in the fasted state. The metabolic adaptation consists in 3 phases. The first one is while our body, in absence of external glucose, uses the circulant one until it is over, and afterwards uses the glycogen of our liver and muscles. And this helps avoid the continued increase and decrease of insulin that is so important to control inflammation and is related to lots of metabolic diseases. The second one starts more or less 16 hours after, when our body must resort to fatty acids to generate the new fuel for the organism, the ketone bodies. During this time, the organism uses all the fat stored, and this phase could last until 30-40 days in a medium-sized man of 70 kilograms of weight. And the third one, that is the end of fasting, is when body has to resort to essential proteins. And then we are not talking of fasting, but of starvation. So why I recommend fasting to all my patients? Because it's one of the most efficient way to reduce and control all these health factors, and also it's the cheapest one. First of all, fasting reduces inflammatory process. Some studies have found that fasting could decrease levels of inflammatory markers and reduce blood sugar and insulin levels, as you can see in the slide. And this is really important for diabetes, hypertension, arteriosclerosis, obesity, cancer, chronic fatigue, and other chronic degenerative diseases. One of the most important things from fasting is that it activates lipolysis and also activates a mechanism called autophagy. That is only the mechanism of self-eating, by eliminating cells that are sick, weak, or otherwise don't measure up. Just imagine that we have a cleanup crew inside our cells, and they are able to recycle trash and waste elements as damaged proteins or whatever, and could transform them in energy. This is really interesting for neurodegenerative processes, Alzheimer's, but also to reduce oxidative stress and premature aging. Fasting also promotes detoxification, and for me it's really important. Fasting stimulates detox enzymes, breaks down fat reserves, mobilizes and eliminates stored toxins. Fasting can be a good way to detox and reboot our system by eliminating liposoluble toxics and by activation of autophagy. And another interesting point is that fasting gives a break to digestive process, improves colitis or irritable bowel syndrome, and controls dysbiosis and helps reparating leaky gut. Researchers agree that fasting can have a substantial impact on remodeling the gut microbiome, reducing intestinal bacterial overgrowth, called SIBO, like Fusobacterium, that is related to colorectal cancer, and also parasites, candida, and with beneficial bacteria becoming more dominant as Akkermansia, which has been shown to reduce fat mass gain and to improve gut barrier function and glucose metabolism. And how can we fast? It is really simple. You just have to stop eating for a period of time, being carefully to hydrate yourself during this period with mineral water, tea, coffee with not milk or sugar, or light broths. There are different types of fasting, including prolonged fasting for a few days, up to 30, 40 days, or intermittent fasting, where you choose an eating window, limiting your eating to a certain number of hours every day. The intermittent fasting focuses on when you eat rather than on what you eat. There are a variety of different types of intermittent fasting, as you can see in the slide. So just to finish, I would like to talk more and more about this, but I will pass to the other speakers. But I just want you to remember the interesting benefits that fasting can give to your health, protecting your cells, protecting your organism, protecting your mind, and promoting a healthy longevity. But be carefully. Fasting is not for everyone. It is better not to fast in case of children, teenagers, pregnant or breastfeeding women, eating disorders like anorexia, bulimia, diabetes type 1, liver or renal insufficiency, or people underweight, frail, or really elderly. And for prolonged fasting, I used to recommend to consult a doctor expert in fasting. So thanks. That's all. I hope you enjoyed this short but interesting presentation. And thanks for your attention. For any question, if you have something to ask, just write me to my email that I leave here, and I will be happy to help you. I just finished sharing my slide and pass to the next speaker.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. 𝐂𝐐𝐈𝐻. Wonderful, very all quintessential, all the important informations there. Fascinating. It's to looking at the numbers of all the deaths related with the different diseases. And I remember many years ago, one time hearing Dr. Dean Ornish, who was a very famous cardiologist who did one of the book called Reversing Heart Disease. And he was talking about the cardiovascular diseases probably kills more people than every other disease combined. And then cardiovascular disease is also preventable. What people believe before, when you get it, you die, but not anymore. You can prevent, not only you can prevent, you can reverse. I think that's amazing. Amazing. So thank you for your wonderful information. And I will definitely look back again, all your information and learn more. And the second guest is the Hilde Larsson. Please welcome here, Hilde. And I was also very impressed by her personal journey about fasting, who seems like I went through so many different health issues, problems, and somehow found her way to heal herself. Not only that, but also ways to help others. So welcome, Hilde.
Thank you so much, and I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation. This is a great collection of fantastic, knowledgeable, wise speakers, so I'm really honored. Like you said, I live in Norway. I also travel, have been traveling a lot when everything was open. I'm a detox specialist, but most of all, I'm a health coach, so I'm not a certified doctor. I'm an author of 3 books. This is the most popular. It's called From Hell to Inspired. I have one called Know the Truth and Get Healthy, and one that, you know, the name of it is it's called No More Bullshit. And my focus on health comes from a point of despair, feeling and living more in what was perceived as my health. This is where I came from. You know, I was an interior designer. I was designing cruise ships and hotels. I was not living a healthy life, but I was living a normal life. So I was the regular woman in the street that has 2 kids, a house and a cottage and 2 cars and, you know, her own business, and just stressing along, living the detrimental moment where you're diagnosed with an autoimmune. In my case, it was severe rheumatoid arthritis. I could not walk. I was on so many meds. I was diagnosed with Lyme. I was diagnosed with multiple ulcers. My body kept breaking down, but I had no idea about the stress, the environmental, what I was eating, and how it was inflicting on my health. So for me, fasting and the whole topic of cleansing and detoxification is really more about regeneration. Now, for me, I ended up so medicated. I went to medical route, medicated took all the help that I could get to get out of pain, but I ended up so depressed and so anxious and so sick, adding up new symptoms, that I just reached my very lowest when I went home from work. I literally gave away my business. I lay down on the sofa and I told my husband, I'm going to stop all the medications. I had a dream where I just stopped taking all the shots that I was putting into my own body, because I was using Enbrel, if people know what that is. It's an immunosuppressant. And I lay down and I told my husband, I said, I'm going to stop all medications and I'm going to lay down and I'm going to lay here until one out of two things happen. Either I die or I get healthy, and I don't care which. And I really didn't care which. And this was my standpoint. And since I've been walking this path of natural healing, detoxification, regeneration, that I'll talk more about, I have realized that so many people out there are suffering from these labels. Like the previous speaker also said, this is just a set of symptoms. It's just the body trying to tell a story of what's going on. And there are so many ways of allowing the body to start eliminating, detoxifying, so that it can regenerate. So to me, to say this, first of all, I would never allow or recommend anyone to just jump into a lot of fasting. And I'm not a doctor, so this is not medical advice, but fasting to me is a very sacred thing, because it's not only the staying away from food, it's also the practice of fasting from emotions, thoughts, and really it's a spiritual journey. Now, for me, having eaten a regular SAD diet, that we call it, standard American diet, which most often means bread, milk, meat, cheese, vegetables, you know, most of what we've been living with, which I have learned is way mucus forming and congesting in the body. So for me, the whole process of fasting goes towards the elimination, because what we're really doing is we're overeating and undernourishing to begin with. So our body doesn't even have eliminating organs that are working up to par. Like me, for example, the more medications I was taking, the sicker I got, the more trouble I had eliminating everything. And this is why my first water fast, which was 6 days, I was still drinking coffee and having my cigarettes. And I went straight from the diet that I came on, and I went right to there. I mean, my blood pressure dropped until almost nothing. I could literally faint or pass out from doing that. So I would never jump into that without, consulting a healthcare professional that can guide you. But for me, fasting is something you lean into. You work your way up to it. And here is why. Once you change your diet, once you go from eating a lot of dense, cooked, highly acidifying, mucus-forming food to lighter food, meaning more fresh fruits and vegetables, which are much easier to digest, the body already starts the eliminative process. What fasting is about, like my previous speaker also talked about, is something that goes even deeper, and it's a little different, and I'll get to that. But the beginning state for me is always to go lighter. And this is why it's been so popular now to go juice fasting. It's not really fasting, because fasting for me means complete restraint, complete vacancy of anything that nurtures the body, so that the body have to look inside for everything. But when you juice fast, you're at the same time stepping away from the digestive work that the body has to do. And do you know that when the body is working hard to digest food that is not easily digestible, it uses 80% of its energetic force? So juice fasting was something that I started doing more frequently. And then I started going over to eating more raw fruits and vegetables. And then I could handle doing a 20-day water fast. Even then, when I went into my 20-day water fast, it was a little premature. You know why I know this? Because when I stopped the fast, I broke out in rashes, I swole up, there was just too many toxins that was released during the fast. It was more than my body could handle, my personal body can handle. So fasting for 20 days is not too much, but for me, it was too much. And this is, I think, where this topic is interesting, like a lot of other topics. It's so personal. Now, I even took it further, and I still do. And I just want to take, in short, what types of fast there are, because I've also practiced dry fasting, which has also been popular. You eat or drink nothing. And I've done a lot of 5-day fasts where I eat or drink nothing. I have no contact with water. I don't even wash my hands. I don't brush my teeth. I don't take a shower. And what the process that my previous speaker talked about, when the body starts eating on its own, the interesting thing with dry fasting is that it also goes after its own liquids. So it's even quicker to go after the inflammation and the edema. Now, again, these are for the more experienced fasters. And what I've seen is using it intermittently, which is the next step that's very popular. It's what we do every day. We intermittent fast when we sleep. So the body is made to also tick and go without food or water. It starts really cleaning house, goes deep into the cells to get after the bacteria, the viruses, the fungus, the parasites. And do you know, and this is kind of, even after years of practicing this, after a 5-day water fast, a 30 centimeter, 1 foot living parasite crawled out of me. This is how infested we are. And this is what will leave us if we allow the body to go into the process. So I look at elimination, which I think is the most important thing to have a successful fast. The detoxification will happen naturally. We don't have to think about it. The body will start cleaning house once we step away and don't put anything. It's more about what's eating us and not as much about what we're eating. I look at healing coming from a place with less healing, less supplementation, less what do I need to take? What is the pill I need to take? No, you don't need to take any. We need to look to nature. What are the animals doing? What are we designed to do? If we're not feeling well, it's natural for us to feel less prone to want anything to eat. Look at the children. If they're sick, they don't want anything, but we keep putting it into their mouth. So we keep stuffing ourselves and we end up constipated. And in my world, we end up sick. So that's the reset, I think, that goes into our deeper emotional state, that when you fast, you connect with nature. You connect with your emotional state, because there's something called a healing crisis. There's something called detoxification symptoms. There's something called Herxheimer reaction, which means you're killing off something that is giving you symptoms that's uncomfortable and that's actually toxic to the body. We're relieving toxins, and this we need to take seriously, I think, in a talk like this. So I wanted to quickly also go into, and you can see I'm kind of rushing. I just want to pack as much as I can into the little time that we have. But I want to stop, since I'm an experiencer, right? So I do have the skills academically. I'm a certified coach, but my experience is what inspires me to share. So my best tips when it comes to fasting is, number one, work your way up, work your way there. Don't jump right into the deepest water. Learn how to swim, feel the water, start slow. Start really slow. I would say go on a juice fast, then do a water fast for a day, maybe then do a couple of days. Try to get into intermittent fasting, and instead of being dry, not eating or drinking anything from 8 at night until 6 in the morning, do from 6 at night until 6 in the morning. Work yourself way up to between 12 and 15 hours, which is amazing. You're giving your whole system a rest. And I think that's what we need: rest, reset. That's number one. Number two is being educated. The more educated you are about what you're doing with your own body, the more successful you will be. So being educated when it comes to fasting is also about knowing detoxification symptoms and what you can do. Because you can go into fasting, asking anyone that's been through a longer water fast, there will be times where you'll feel really weak. There will be times where you feel nauseated or even have a fever, or you'll feel bloated or really tired. You might get a rash. You might feel itchy. You can have mucus coming out your nose. You can have diarrhea. You can have constipation. These are all signs that the body is trying to eliminate toxins and that it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. But you also need to know when to hold them and when to fold them, because you don't want to hurt yourself. There's a fine line there. Now, you also need to be aware of, in my world, the emotional detox. Every emotion that we have is connected with an organ. So for example, liver represents anger. Your kidney represents fear. Your lungs represent grief. So when you go deep and you start cleansing those organs, you will feel emotional. And you can also release a lot of emotions from your cells just by detoxifying or fasting in general. Every time we have a traumatic or any experience that carries emotions within our body, peptides are created that sticks with our cells. Now, when we release the cells, we're releasing the emotions. And it's an amazing journey if you're aware of it and if you can embrace it, you know, and be grateful. And the last thing I wanted to talk about, two last things. Number one, how to break a fast. I've literally seen people doing good, successful fasts, and then they break it in a way that the body cannot handle, and they get into trouble, they get into pain. And the digestive system has a hard time getting back online. So depending on how long you have been fasting, from my experience, it works like this. For every week you've been fasting, if you've been doing longer juice fasts, and yes, you can do that. I have done 90 days myself, 3 months. Again, caution, build yourself up. For every week you've done fasting, a whole day should be dedicated to fruits only. It's the food that by itself, mind you, by itself is the easiest for the human body to digest. Now, if you've done water fasting, I would go from water to juices for a couple of days, because you are giving the body nutrients again, but you're easing into the digestive process. It's always about easing into the digestive process. So no matter what you've been doing during your fast, and no matter how long you've been fasting, really, my recommendation is to do fruits, smoothies, easy to digest, raw living food that are packed with bioavailable nutrients. And the last thing I want to touch on, like really quickly, is for people to take home while they're fasting. And if these symptoms come up, like, what do I do? What helps the process? And these are hands-on tools that you can use. And here are a couple from me. Number one, sitting in a sauna can really help the body to clear toxins. Now, if you're going deep into a water fast, you really have to be mindful about sauna. Again, this depends on the level that you're in. You do not want to dehydrate yourself. Fasting hydrates at a very deep level, but slowly. It takes time. It's not going to hydrate your entire being the first time you do a fast. It works in layers. Deep breathing is amazing for clearing toxins and moving lymph and qi. Then cold showers will move your lymph. Massages, easy massages. You can use a neti pot if you have a compacted head. You can use enema if you're constipated. And you can go to using essential oils topically for pain and other issues. So fasting to me is very dear to my heart. It's a large topic, which takes me into detoxification, but that will have to be for another talk. So forgive me if I took too much space, but thank you. If you want to reach me, then you can go to my website, InspiredByHilde.com. You can send me direct email at Hilde, I'm Hilde with an E, not an A, hilde@inspiredbyhilde.com. And I'm just going to leave you with that because you'll find everything on my website. So
thank you. So thank you so much. Such a wonderful talk. I like the idea, what you said about overeating, undernourished, that people in the West, and particularly in the Western world, today's world modernization, this is, I think, exactly what is happening. I'm very happy that we sleep in the night, we don't eat in the night. There's a natural sense of intermittent. Maybe it need to prolong a little bit more, a few hours more, well, good. So all the information about the speakers, all the people who are watching this, please, you know that Anya is on the chat box. She is putting information. And we have a cybersangha.net where their biographies are there, more in depth, and the contact information, their website, and so more informations are there. So you're welcome to visit that, cybersangha.net. Our next speaker is Dr. 𝐄𝐄 𝐖𝐞𝐻 from New York, a friend of mine we've known for a long time. He's been practicing Tibetan medicine for over 30 years, a long time, and also a lot of experiences working with elder Tibetan medical doctors and also working in the West. So I'm very much looking forward to hear from Dr. 𝐄𝐄 𝐖𝐞𝐻. Please welcome.
Tujen roi tanzen chom den den che zong tebe ngere dung ne sha to zen ne sa je me la ben di ya yo la sha ya ta on be ga be ga sam bo Thank you for being here. I'm on Tibetan Dr. Phuntsok, as Rinpoche mentioned. We're talking about fasting on Tibetan medicine. So Tibetan medicine study on balance things. What balance is body and mind supposed to balance? So through that, we have a different diet through the fasting. Yeah, I can say like maybe my English is not so good. That's why. So we have a name called the Lung Tipa Pege. That's distance cause of the desire, anger, ignorance, and so those are we call the cause, and then we have a 5 element, 4 element and 5 element. That's we call the condition. So those are during the human being living time need to balance. If not balanced, then people will seek lots of different way. So through these, we have the three diseases. We call 3 diseases or 3 humor, which is Lung Tipa Pegen, which is Lung is they translated wind element, and then Tipa is anger, bile translated, and then Pegen is flame, they translated. So those 3 combine with the 5 element, which is earth, water, and then wind, and then fire, and then space. Those are which we call is condition. So those are every different three causes, different way to supposed to eat food and then taste other things. So which taste, which is wind people supposed not eat too much, should eat sweet things, and then bile people should eat sour things, and then which is flame people supposed to eat bitter things, but those are post taste things. So there, when we eat things, those are sweet and sweet and salty becomes like a post taste, becomes like a sweet, and then sour becomes sour, and then bitter, and then hot, and then pungent becomes bitter. So that's the main theory for the three humor make a balance things. So those are, and which is when we eat any kind of food, we testimony through the tongue, mouth, or whatever these things. So so then we have also fruits, like when we eat food, fruit supposed to eat, we measure through the measure in stomach divided four different four part, and then two parts supposed to eat food, and then one part supposed to eat drink something liquid, and then one part supposed to live in like a empty stomach. So then digestive will be balanced. If eat too much food, then stomach will be stretched, and then if people they drink too much, then not enough nutritious, and then if too much empty, so it would be like a stomach have some defense problem. So that's just a general, everybody supposed to eat that way. And then also we have another things that drinking things. We say before drink, while eating drink, and then after drinking. So we call the sesu parta toma kamtona nyamsarin shimbonda kembuju, which is while we eating, if you drink, then your body will maintain same way where you are, and then before you eat, you drink enough, then it's kind of fasting, so your body will lose weight. And then after eating is, if somebody who too skinny or something, then supposed to not drink while eating, and also before eating. After eating should drink liquid. So that's just how we drink waters, and then how to control the foods. And also hot water is very good for the digestion, and then also very good for the colds, and very good for the hiccups, and then also very good for the stomach bloatings. So that's hot water. How we should drink is, well, hot water is supposed to boil 15 minutes and then you drink. Otherwise, just boil, and if you drink, so there will be like a very much minerals in there. So that's not benefit like what hot water benefits say. And then also people who imbalanced bile, those people are supposed to drink boiled water, make it cool, and then if you drink, very good for the bile. But if people who boil water and then leave it for one or two nights, and if they drink it again, that's not very good, because that's whole water will becomes like a sour. So sour is not good for the body acid. So that's kind of water how to drink. And then also their Tibetan medicine, there are different way fasting things, which is people who lung imbalance, wind imbalance, those people supposed to eat, shouldn't eat, which we did talk about those like sour things, and then also bitter things, which is sour, and then salt, sour, and then bitter, and then hot, and then punches. Those are not supposed to eat, people who wind imbalance. And then people who imbalance vegan, those people not supposed to eat sweet things, and then salty things. And people who bio imbalance people not supposed to eat bitter and then sweet things. So sweet and then salty. Those are, if eat too much, then not going to be balanced, those three humors. And also, for example, food, like in the vegetables, like leaf vegetables are, we call the nupa nyamba, which is they call the anti-inflammatory. And then fruits are nupa jiwa, which is heavy things, which is sweet things. And then also root vegetables are also nupa jiwa, which is not very good for the for example, people who cold conditions, those are not supposed to eat nubachiwa, which is heavy things. Like most root vegetables are heavy quality. There are only 2-3 things like carrot and then turnips. Those are not very heavy. They're different, a little bit taste, they call. So otherwise, root vegetables are not very good for flame person, and then also sorry, can you guys understand what I saying? Otherwise, maybe I ask in translation. Okay, so then
아무도 되게들라.
okay,
고객의 고객에 고객 고거 말해 개와 말해라.
that's all. So also we have a
딕 let's 제 디스를
okay.
let's 투체.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Chin Punzola. It was wonderful. I think whenever I hear from Tibetan medical doctor, I think there's so much of a sense of very deep depth there. I think sometimes people say, eat, this is good for you, this is not good for you. It's like a very generalized about health advice about the dietary food. And but when you look from these deeper aspects of knowledge, it's not true. Not all the vegetables are same. Not all the root leaves are the same. Not all the roots vegetables are the same. So somehow, and they might have totally different impact from one vegetable to another vegetable, or not one root to another root, and so on. So it is always fascinating. So thank you so much. And our next speaker, it's Jamila, who's joining us from Spain. And so in Tibetan tradition, generally, we do a practice called Nyungne. Basically, I think Nyungne can be translated as fasting, but that is done very much on a spiritual ground. Many people do it, not very long, but shorter ones, but it's very well spread out. So I think that's one of the main things what Jamila has studied. So Jamila has completed his postgraduate study at the Oxford University's Oriental Institute. His doctoral dissertation examined rejuvenation Tibetan medical practices, and particularly focused on the literature of Nyungne from all cross Tibetan traditions. So he's really one of the person who knows most about this. So very much looking forward. Welcome.
Thank you, Rinpoche. Thank you, Rinpoche. Thank you, everybody, for setting the context. So, as Rinpoche said, I'm going to speak a little bit more about fasting from the spiritual tradition, from the sense of spiritual side. And actually, it's common in most of the world religions. And there are different ways of fasting. As we already heard today, there can be total fasting. There can be partial fasting of specific diets, where you only eat certain things. There can also be fasting where you eat only in specific times. And there are different reasons for fasting in different religions. And to develop modesty, for example, or to express gratitudes to the gods for having food, to encourage patience and restraint, to atone for sins which one has done, to develop a more clear mind, to have a lighter body to do exercises, and to resist gluttony. So we can see this in many world religions. And for example, in Catholic and Orthodox Church, one avoids meat during the Lent period. And then in Judaism, there's a Day of Atonement called Yom Kippur, when you do fasting. The Muslims, of course, have the whole month of Ramadan, where they're reading the Quran and not eating during the daytime. And then also the Mormons, they're having only one meal on the first Sunday of every month, and they donate food for the needy people on that day, and they also concentrate on spiritual activities. So you can see it's in many world religions, and especially in India, in the Indian subcontinent, there's a very long tradition of fasting for many centuries already. And the Hindus have many occasions during the year, and one very important one is on this night of Shiva, Shivaratri. And probably one of the most interesting ones in India is the Jainism tradition. They have really a strong tradition of fasting from 1 day up to 16 days. And the most extreme of all is called Santana, where at the end of life, one lets himself starve and die of thirst. And they say in this way, by doing this fasting, it's a purification, and one is going completely beyond all the passions and attachment to life. But what I want to tell you a little bit about today, my focus is more on Tibetan fasting practices, and particularly one called Chulen. And I'll give you a little bit the historical context and also this philosophy of the tradition in both the Bon system and the Buddhist tradition of Tibet. So many of you probably know in Buddhism, I want to show you a picture. Let's see, share screen. There was Prince Gautama. He was born in a royal family in present-day Nepal. And when he was born, the court astrologer told the father, the king, that his son was destined for great spiritual greatness, but that he wouldn't be a temporary ruler. He would not be the king. So when the father grew up, he was very worried about his son not taking on the kingdom. So he always made sure he had a very comfortable life with all privileges possible. But Prince Gautama, he always wanted to get away. He wanted to go on a spiritual quest. So eventually he runs away one night and he abandons completely the comforts of life on earth. And he goes and he does a very long period, 6 years of austerity with a very extreme fast. And this statue you can see is a depiction of him in the height of his fasting period. But he feels so weakened by this fasting for so many years that he renounces it. When he eats some food, the other ascetics, they consider him to have lost the way and they criticize him. But actually he says it's better not to go so extremely, but instead there's an encouragement more for a middle way in Buddhism, where you're mindful about what you eat, you do not overeat, but you also don't starve yourself. And still now there are certain rules for Buddhist monks and nuns, like not eating after noon, and in the afternoon one only has some tonics such as medicine or tea and sweets, something like that. This is more for the monastic people. Instead, the lay people in Tibet, occasionally they practice Nyungne, which Rinpoche mentioned before. This is a practice many times connected to Avalokiteshvara also, and it's a 3-day fast. On the first day, you have only one meal and you're allowed drinks. Then on the second day, there's no food, no drink, no speaking even. And finally, on the third day, you break the fast completely. This is the more general Tibetan Buddhist fasting tradition. Then if you go into the tantric path, you can see that fasting starts to become combined with different other spiritual exercises. For example, mantra recitation or their breathing exercises, visualizations, yoga postures, and this is called Chulen. And Chulen in Tibetan, it means essence extraction. Chu means essence, elixir, nutrition, vital essence. And instead, len is the verb to extract. So what you do, you're extracting the essence through alchemy, through rituals, through visualizations, contemplation, meditation practices. And this extraction can happen from roots, flowers, plants, rocks. And then with the power of your mind and your breath, you can also extract from the sky, the stars, the wind. It becomes a strong mental exercise. And the aim of these practices of Chulen is to increase wisdom, and you strengthen your mental faculties, as well as improving your health. So in this way, you can survive on very small amounts of food, you purify the body and the energy flow, and you sharpen the mental focus. All this is while you're on the path to Buddhahood. So you hear about these famous yogis, for example, Milarepa in Tibet, who lived on the caves and the mountains alone for many years practicing. And this is also, this Chulen practice is done to overcome attachment to eating, because this is what binds us into this existence in samsara. And we're working with these energies in the subtle body. And it gives one the opportunity really to live in retreat full time if he wants to dedicate to spiritual practice for the rest of their life without having this distraction of having to look for food, collect it, work, and you can dedicate yourself fully to spiritual fulfillment. There are 4 main types of Chulen typologies, and these recipes are using rock, water, flour, and prana. And there are many texts starting already in the 11th century with recipes, which explain how to prepare and practice these 𝐶hulen made from different substances, very essential substances. This meditative practice, it's quite unique because many other meditative practices, they focus mostly on the mental exercises and visualization. And instead here, this practice of 𝐶hulen, the physical body is given a lot of importance. And these remedies are often prepared according to the physiology of the practitioner, such as Dr. Choying was explaining before. Depending on your body type, you will take specific ones. So probably the most important figure in Tibet for 𝐶hulen practices was Guru Padmasambhava. And sometimes he's also known as the second Buddha in Tibet because of all the efforts and work he did to establish Tantric Buddhism in Tibet. And his story is a little bit similar to Buddha Shakyamuni because he was also brought up in a royal court. He had a divine birth. It said he was born from a lotus flower. Padma means lotus in Tibetan. So he was Padmasambhava, born from a lotus. And this king, he heard about this divine child and he invited him to the court because he also didn't have an heir for his kingdom. And he was hoping that Padmasambhava would take on the kingdom from him. And also Padmasambhava, he wanted to leave the kingdom, just like Buddha Shakyamuni. But his father, adoptive father, the king, would not allow him to leave the court. So what he did finally is he went on the roof of the palace one day and he did a wild tantric dance. And then there was a child of a minister downstairs and he dropped his trident onto the head of the child who died. And this way he was banished from the kingdom. He was sent into exile. But it said he killed this child knowing that the child had bad karma, that he would have died soon. So he wasn't such a bad murderer, actually. And there was clarity when he did this action. Then when he left the kingdom, Padmasambhava, for many years, he wandered around cemeteries in India and Nepal. Cemeteries were considered very good places for spiritual practice because they're very terrifying and we overcome certain limitations we have. And in one text, it's explaining that he stayed in the land of Zahor in one cemetery. And for 5 years, he was practicing 𝐶hulen, doing this extraction of elixirs of various medicinal herbs and also from poisons. We have so many 𝐶hulen recipes for meditators to use on retreat. This can be to sustain oneself and to increase these mental and physical powers through these special substances. And there are also remedies in this 𝐶hulen texts, which explain how to fix imbalances. For example, when we're doing long retreats and fasting, there can be some problems with the wind element and nervousness can happen when the wind element is disturbed. It's not clear exactly how Padmasambhava received these 𝐶hulen instructions, if it was from other masters, but in the text it said, oh, sorry, I want to change picture. Here is Padmasambhava, you can see. And when in one ancient text by Dudul Dorje, it was stating that it was a wisdom Dakini, Dakini is a magical celestial being, feminine being connected to wisdom and special teachings. She transmitted to him 𝐶hulen made out of flowers and calcite, which he learned and then he practiced in the cemetery. Many times these recipes are considered to have divine origins, such as from these Dakini, and also from the Naga kingdom, who are these magical serpent-like creatures. And for example, one of the types of 𝐶hulen that Padmasambhava practiced is of an orchid root called 𝐽𝐿𝐴𝐿. This is a very interesting ingredient. I'm quite fascinated because it's coming over and over in many texts. You can see here, this is the root here with 5 fingers. It means powerful hand. In Tibetan, 𝐽𝐿 is hand. And Padmasambhava practiced this 𝐶hulen of 𝐽𝐿𝐴𝐿, and it's saying in certain texts that the divine origin of this plant was when there was a fight between some gods and some asuras, these other types of supernatural beings, and one asura shot a god, and when the blood spilled from the god, it fell on the floor, and it took on the shape like a hand on the floor, and then the root came up from here, this orchid flower. So this is the interesting story. And now we don't have so much time, but I just wanted to mention also my research has been mostly on Buddhist texts, but also in the Bon tradition, there are many texts, and I invite, if there's any Tibetologist listening, to really try to research. This is one cover of one beautiful Bon text by Caro. This was found in Mustang. My professor from Oxford University, he gave me this text, and you can see how beautiful it is. And there's also another very famous master called Charjatasi Gyaltsen, who is very famous for his Chulen. This is a tanka of him. He practiced Chulen, and at the end of his life, he also realized rainbow body, which is the considered to be the topmost fulfillment for a very advanced expert practitioner. And he practiced on his own in the mountains for about 10 years, practicing Chulen. He wrote his own text of Chulen, and also he received it from others. There's a biography of his PhD thesis about his biography. I'm happy to share. I have many materials, many links to websites. So please, if you have any questions, now we have so little time, but I'm happy to share materials if you have any questions about lineages or ingredients and so forth. This is my email. Maybe it's on the side. Also, we have a technical assistant. So this is all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Janela. That was so wonderful. Lot of knowledge, and very much looking for. I definitely wanted to look back again and again to all of your talk and learn more. Just not to. It's hard to keep everything inside. So we are. Everything is recorded here. It will be. People can view afterward on on the Facebook and also cybersangha.net, and also once again all the speakers' information, their biography, their contact informations are there on our website cybersangha.net. You're welcome to visit there. Yeah, so talking about Shazad Rinpoche in Burnt tradition, there's a very important text called Kusum Chulne. So basically the essence, so abstracting essence from the three kayas, Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, Nirmanakaya. Basically, it's saying idea of eating less, nourishing more. So eating less, nourishing more, even to the point not eating, still nourishing. So of course you don't want to go there unless you really have experiences. But I think the whole concept is beautiful. And a friend of mine right now in Dharamsala, he's in Dharamsala quarantine for 5 days. After he comes out, he is going to prepare some Chule medicine in Dharamsala. So we are very much looking forward. So next speaker is Dr. Phuntsho Wamo. She has been also practicing for over 30 years, and she did her study and finished her all the degrees in Lhasa Mensi Khang in Tibet. So it's not in India, in Tibet. And also she is the current director for, so is there are you everybody's seeing okay? Let me see.
Yeah.
Okay. Jamia, it still looks like a sharing screen, no?
No.
Okay. So Jamia, are you out? Stop sharing the screen. Yeah. 1 second. I think we are. Jamia?
It's Dr. Wangmo sharing her screen, so it's supposed
I don't know how much sharing the screen. So okay. Thank you for letting me know that. So yeah. So so she finished, and one last thing, I think important thing is as you see in the screen here, Shangjung Institute. So she's the director of Shangjung Institute in Massachusetts. She does a lot of workshop and teaches and consult people all around the world. And her base is in Massachusetts, and they do also have actual training I think 4 years training, and maybe she can speak a little bit later, that one can join online study. And so it's highly recommended. So welcome, Dr. Punzomola.
Also, Rinpoche Kadinchi, thank you very much, all of you, such wonderful speakers. Thank you, such vast knowledge. And then today's my topic is the Julin of the, based on the Tibetan medicines. So in general, when we're looking, the Ju means is essence, and the Len, it means is sort of like the Len is like abstracting. So abstracting the essence from the certain food, which means is that if you lost in your body certain like a body like cells, in the Tibetan medicine we call is body constituents, and then you eat a certain similarity nature of the food to restrain that whatever you missed. An example, if you're missing like a calcium, then you eat certain like that the herbs or materials which has the calcium. So this is sort of like the Julen. So when you lost something in your body, you try to take that what you lost from the other food. So basically similar, I think, with like what the vitamins. So that is that the Julen. So the Julin also, there is different types of the Julins, which the previous speakers, they said also Rinpoche and Jamya. There is a certain Julin is combined with a practice. This is the first my slide. This is a sort of like the Julin based on the practice. So this Julin is how you can take the Julin, which material you should take, meantime, which kind of practice you should do. So again, as the Jamya said, when there is a Julin, or when you say cleansing, is not only that the physical body looking, is also is like your mental is looking. So you try to nutrient your physical body, and then meantime also your mind. You try to detoxifying your physical body, and in the meantime also your mind. So we need to nutrient the both physical and then mind, and then also detoxifying that the mind and the body both. So for that reason, there is a sort of like the based on the practice. So this, that the mandala is like the Julin mandala. And then during the Julin time, which kind of practice you should do, how long you should do, what time you should more focus, so on and so forth. So this is that the one Julin. But this I'm not going to talk today. My topic is more like the simple, like the medicine aspect. So when we look in the medicine aspects of the Julin, as that the Dr. Chuin Punso already mentioned, based on the different body type, based on the different conditions, circumstance, we have different Julins. But today's I want to focus on the garlic Julin. The reason is like the garlic is very easy to understand what is the garlic, every tradition, easy to find, easy to access, easy to sort of like accept every culture, every ethnicity. So this kind of reason I want to choose the garlic. So when we look in the garlic, what is the garlic? Garlic is sort of like a ancient time is grows on the wild, but nowadays is cultivated. The taste of the garlic is hot, ending with a sweet. And the nature of the garlic is warm, sharp, and the heaviness. So warm, sharp, and then heaviness, there is each character, there's a whole sort of like meaning to explanations, but due to the time frame, I'm not going to do all details today. So literally the warm means is a sort of like that all our body need like the heat, especially all the metabolic systems. So that is warm. And then the sharp means is also like that to restrain the mentals, and then also like the cleansings. Heavy means is also to calm down and then to putting like relax, rest, and then to falling to sleep. So all those kind of like that comes from the warm, sharp, and then heavy. So these kind of things. The functions or the benefits of the garlic can be removed all the lung disorders. So lung disorder is a huge topic according to Tibetan medicine. All the nerve system is we put under the lung disorders. All the emotional, mental aspect, and most of them is we put under the lung disorders. An example like anxieties, stress, hallucinations, all those kind of like, and then panic, all those kind of like under the lung disorders. So when we say it's good for the lung, and then also like physically all the bone joint is a part of the lung. So it's a good for the lung means is a huge topic. And then also helps to increase the sleep, remove the insomnias, increase the digestive heat or the metabolic system, opens appetite, removes or heals all the microorganism disease, and also helps to access lymphatic system problems. If you have like lymph swellings, unnecessarily open the skins, causing a lot of infections, inflammation. So those kind of cases also, this is good. Also removes the vitiligo, tumors, hemorrhoids, and also either frequent urinations or infrequent urinations. And also good to remove the pagan, which is like if you have like a overgain, obesity, overgain, or you have something like that, the edema, or if you have sort of like the lot of mucus, any kind of like a heavy mucus in the body access developed, and then also the garlic can help to remove. Another one benefit also, garlic can help to remove the flu or can prevent from the flu. Also good for the short breathing, also good for the provocation disorders, and also good for the acute pain, especially like a parasitic acute pain. And also is good for the diarrhea, either like due to the heat natural condition or the cold natural condition, which means is if you have like a long-term persistent diarrhea, or you have like a diarrhea with a very sharp pain, and sometimes also like it comes with the blood. All those kind of cases, the garlic is good. So when we're looking like it, that the just garlic is such a high medicinal. If we able to use the garlic appropriately, so garlic looks like entire body is good. Also like good for to restrain the immune systems, to restrain the body heat, and then to restrain the body like a bodily constituents, and also good for the memory, so on and so forth. But here is the garlic julienne, not only garlic, but also like a garlic made into abstracted garlic as that the julienne. So when we're looking like a julienne, why we need to take the julienne? What is the reason we need to take julienne? We need to take the julienne, there is several reasons. Number one reason is even though we are healthy, even though we have a good diet, behave, everything, but passing the time, we are aging. Aging means is all our body cells, all our body mechanism is sort of like changing their functions. So for this kind of reason, before completely fall down, need to take the julienne to keep us like that that the normal way. So this is sort of like one reason we take. So this is like more like a rejuvenation system. Another one also we take that the Julian, if you have those kind of like issues, problems, as we said before. The reason is either you are aging, causing, or if you have poor health, and the final, they're attacking to our life, causing to losing our precious life. For that reason, anyone who willing to extending the life to keep us healthy, healthy means is also physical healthy, mind healthy, energy healthy. Healthy is not all in physical or this or that. When we're talking like health, like a body, mind, speech, all three need to be, it's like function as like supposed to. So if you want to be this kind of way, then we say you should take Julian. So this is one thing. Then the next one, what is that, how do we use that Julian? So when we're using that the Julians, the first one is like a benefits of the Julian. Benefits of the Julian is to extending the life, to keep us like a youth age. Does not mean it doesn't move your number of the age, no, but it helps your functions of the body, mind, keep us like youth. Also to give a good complexions, radiance, increase the body, sort of like the functions, vitals, increasing the sense organ functions, keep good memories, sharpening your mind, and also having a good voice. So sometimes when we're looking sort of like that, when we're working in the clinically, if someone has a very weak, low voice, low, weak voice means is a symptom, or someone has very low, weak complexions. Those kind of thing is like that the way of the communicating between the patient to the doctors. They're talking is something in their body is not working. So when it suddenly our voice is sort of like became weak, and that means is in our body, the vital energy is something is not doing well. In the Tibetan, we call is the dang. So our dang is sort of like declining. So the dang is not strong enough. So those kind of reasons, then we losing the complexions, we losing the memories, we losing the voice, we losing the hairs, nails, whatever, all those kind of things. So maybe the Western medicine, maybe they say it like the immune system, something like that, the lack of the immune system. So which means is also we lost whole sort of like a protection to the body, like we lost that part. So if we don't have this kind of, so this kind of reason also we says garlic is good for all those kind of things, to increasing the dang. Meantime, also garlic is very good for infertilities, to increasing or to maintain the infertilities or the sexual activities. The other hand, also like to keep the healthy reproductive organs or the fluid. The next one, who should take the Julian, and then when should take the Julian? The Julian, as we said before, is to preventing from the agings, physical aging, emotional, mental aging, and then energy aging. But if you really want to do like a rejuvenation, you should take that before to getting old, either physically, mentally, or the voice energy. Once you're getting like 85 years old, wants to get back to 60 may not so easy. But when you are 45, 50, if you want to keep that way of the energy, maybe is easier. So which means is before to getting down, try to keep us like straight. Try to keep straight is much easier than the going down and they try to climb up. So this kind of reason they said is like not too old, which means is not all in the age old. Physical function, mental function, and also like energy function. Meantime, when you start in taking the Julian, also a couple of things you need to be careful. Number one, also if there is possibility, you should avoiding any access activities, either physically, mentally, or verbally. You need to rest, physical rest, mental rest, also verbal rest. So this is one thing. Because is you take Julian and plus you do a lot of like activities, included like a sexual activity, this kind of, that can losing the one part you try to restrain, but other hand is like other part is losing. So this kind of reason this says if there is possibility, and then you try to reduce your jobs, you reduce your speak, you reduce your mental activities, try to focus on the Julian. So this is the number one. Another also is that the day of the taking the Julian also important. You choose a positive date. So the positive date choosing is the many aspects, but simply, if your year element is like a fire, the day element is water, then we understand, no, fire with water, fire not going to succeed. So the water is like antidote for the fire. So water will extinguish the fire, fire will not get the result. So this kind of reason is like that you choose a positive date. So in the Western culture, there's not easy to see which day is positive and which day is not positive, because maybe this is it doesn't come with the natural culture. So what do? Thursday is like a day of the medicine, so looks like everyone is good. The Monday is good for everybody, so the Monday is not conflict to any element. So either you can choose like that the Monday or the Thursday, or if you have some favorite day, and then you can choose that. So, and then another one, before you go to taking that the Julian, also is good to do sort of like that the meditations, practice, pray, offering, all those kind of like that the practice to the spiritual. At least you try to get a good intention. I'm going to take this Julian. Once I get stronger, I want to pay back to the world, do something positive. Buddha said, even you cannot do any positive help to the sentient being, you should not harm to any sentient beings. So you take this kind of like a vows, even I cannot help, I will promise don't harm to any sentient beings. If I can help, that's great. So this kind of like taking a good positive actions. Meantime, also you need to do sort of like a cleansing. So the Tibetan medicine is before you to take that any kind of like a Julian, the cleansing is very important. Cleansing also could be physical cleansing, mental cleansing, energy cleansing, could be there's many cleansings. But at the moment, what we're talking is that the cleansing sort of like a more like the physical aspects. So again, it's you need to stay sort of like a fasting. So this is like a Tibetan medicine one point where we do the fasting. So this fasting is based on the individual circumstance, as the Dr. Chögyam said. So the Tibetan medicine, everything is like individual things. So based on individual condition, 1 day fasting, 2 days fasting, or 1 meal fasting, or light food. So depend what the person's condition. And then you take the fast. And then end of the fast, not only the fast, but also you take laxative ones of like laxative medicines. So that the laxative medicine also based on the individual circumstance. So there's a strong, minor, medium, so you choose. I mean, that the choose with the doctors. And then you take that the laxative medicine, then you cleansing, then you starting taking the Julian medicines. And then also during the taking the Julian or the before to take the Julian, also important to do some preliminary preparation. So the preliminary preparation part is good to like a diet behave as the Dr. Chimpunzo said. And then doing sort of like that oil treatment, like a kuni massage, any kind of like oil treatment. And then also, as we said before, cleansing. And then simply also like room temperature water, take showers. So these kind of all sort of like important cleansing. We said is if you don't using the cleansing, take the Julian, looks like that the dirty clothes dye with the new colors. So if you dirty clothes dye with a new color, the color will not stay there because it's the base of the cloth is too dirty. So that if you want to dye color, first you need to clean up. Same like that way, if you want to make a new body, first you need to clean up. Then you take that the Julians. So when we talking this, that the garlic Julian, they're also like a long sort of like preparations. The first thing is like that you need garlic sort of like the 8, like a whole sort of like clove of the garlic. And then you peel the skins, you cook into the water. You cook into the water. And then once they're well cooked, all the water need to absorb back to the garlic. Then you make the garlic as like a mashed garlic. Then after mashed garlic, you need to cook into the ghee. So into the ghee. And then after you cooked into the ghee, then you put into a container. Then you need to leave into barley. You need to leave into barley 21 days, 3 weeks. So the 21 days you leaving into the barley. To leave into the barley is more sort of like sealed. So then you leave there. Then you do also before you putting and after putting, so also the requirement to do like the data practice or long life practice or any kind of like that the practice which you're familiar. If you don't do practice, that also looks like okay, but important you have a good intentions. Once you put there 21 days, after 21 days, you take out. Then it's like after it became like this kind of color. Then you can take like every morning starting with 1 teaspoon, then can go up to 1 tablespoon, but also like gradually. So you can take like a 21 days, take a like 1 week break, then again you can take continue. So those kind of like the things you can take like 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year. Another one also you can take sort of like taking a vacation, go to a mountain, nice place, and then dedicating for your rejuvenation, like a health retreat, you can do that way. Or you can stay home, like a daily life, also you can take. So this is sort of like your options. So this is pretty much what I want to share with you. And then I don't want to take a lot of time. So then more things, if you want to know how to make this Julian is more detailed, and then you can go to the Shengshun website. So I will put this PDF into our website so you can look from there, or you can send me message through my email. So then we try to answer. Also, you can go to Shengshun School of the Tibetan Medicine in Russia. We have a school in Russia. Also, you can go to Shenzhen School of the Tibetan Medicine in Tenerife. We have a school in Tenerife. Or you can check it at the Shenzhen School of the Tibetan Medicine in the US. If not, then you just go to the Rinpoche's website. So also you could find from there these kind of informations. So I just want to say thank you. And then, so this is my part.
Thank you.
Thank you.
不是我们这些白话就是的，也是类型带的。
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I talked over time.
That's okay, that's okay. I have to do a bit of long drive today. First time driving a camper 24 feet. I'm a little bit nervous, so it's okay. So, so just I think if we wanted to leave a little bit more time for questions. We don't have so much time, but I would like to pose one question to all of you, whoever wanted to answer. This is it's kind of a little bit selfish, but for myself, and I'm sure many people are interested, because many people are nowadays doing intermittent fasting. Many people are doing it. So, so 18 hours of fasting, a 6-hour period of eating, that many people are doing it. So the question is, you know, sometime in the Tibetan spiritual tradition, as Jamyang said, you know, like the monks not supposed to eat dinner. The meal, dinner is supposed to be eat. And the Tibetan medicine also, I think, my understanding is recommended not to eat. I mean, it's better to skip dinner than the breakfast. So, but socially speaking, for me, it's been very difficult to skip dinner because of family, because I meet with people. I like socializing with the meal. And the breakfast is easier to skip because my family there, many times I get up early. So it's not an issue that everybody can have their own breakfast time, not together. So the question here is it really better one or the other? Or if there's any risk, one or the other? So I'm open question to all of you. Hilde, okay. Ask, you want to unmute to yourself, yeah.
Sure. Hi, I'm sorry about that. Well, I love that question. And I actually get similar questions a lot, because when we're talking about prolonging the non-eating window, it could seem that it might not differ the way I see, you know, in where you restrict yourself. Now, although I see going to bed with a full stomach not at all being a positive thing, because you're not digesting well and your body needs to use its inner power to regenerate and to create hormones. And, you know, every hour during our rest time, the body has a job that it usually does. Now, in the morning, though, after it's fast, I mean, break fast, called break fast, I believe that the longer you go without food in the morning, and not only that, but the lighter the food in the morning, that we honor that it is breaking a fast, I think you can help the body to detoxify what has been released during sleep time in a much easier way. So I would say that moving a little bit in each direction, depending on your current state of eating patterns, because some people, they really eat and then they just roll over and they're so tired and they go right to sleep. So if you're that type of person, then maybe you should stop eating at 6 or 7 if you go to bed at 11, you know. But if you're the person that has the last meal at 6 and you just want to get something down again at 6 in the morning before the body has even processed, you know, the fasting, then I think skipping breakfast. But what I want to just close with is that I want us to walk away from the understanding that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Because
so
I really don't think
basically you're saying it's okay to skip the breakfast.
Oh, absolutely. I think if I was to skip one meal, I would always skip breakfast.
Skip.
Yes.
Okay, so skip the breakfast.
Absolutely
Because
skip.
that will
Like in
Tibetan
my life-
medicine.
in
Tibetan
my
medicine
life,
would say different.
yeah.
Yeah.
In my personal life, for many, many years, I have not had anything but liquid until 4 or 5 p.m. Yeah.
Okay, Spanish people in Spain, it's a problem for them because they eat midnight, right? Eat very late.
Yes.
Tradition plays in also,
Yeah.
of course, culture.
Let's go to the east. That's the west now. Let's go to the east.
Yeah, the Tibetan medicine actually it's we said is like the 3 meals a day. Like the breakfast need to serve as like a king, which means is you need to eat rich food, and then different, and then the best food you should eat in the breakfast, because that your breakfast keeping the whole day your energy. So that is you need to eat the breakfast. You need to serve as like king. The lunch is you serve as like the minister. Yes, little less quality, quantity is okay, but still. But evening, the dinner serving as like a beggar, which means it's just poor food is okay. So this is one thing. But then the time is changing. The summer is day is longer, winter is night is longer. So for that reason, it's not entire year we do that same thing, no. The winter is important, eat something, the dinner. The Tibetan medicine idea is if the stomach empty too long, any kind of empty too long is create the lung, the wind. If the wind are rising, the nature of the wind is cold, rough, so automatically brings up your wind element. And then that can extinguish, even though stomach's empty, but can extinguish the digestive heat. So when we're looking like it, that the Buddha's cousin, no, this that the 𝐁𝐻𝐿 Karma, how he died, sort of like he said it, he asked it to the Buddha, no, how long I'm going to live? Buddha said 1 week. Then he said, okay, I'm healthy, why 1 week die? If I don't eat, don't drink, nothing for 1 week, then there's no reason I'm dying. Because he sort of like believe Buddha, but not fully believes. So then he did that 1 week, no eat, no drink. Then before go to the Buddha, he wants to argue to the Buddha, so he tried to drink 1 sip of water, and that water he could not digest, and he died on the way. So what I'm saying is that the stomach is too long empty. In the Tibetan medicine, we did not say this is good. Yes, if you have certain issues, good, but not for everybody.
Dr. Camino, you want to say something?
For me, it's really important to work with chronobiological rhythm, because hormones and all the synthesis of these little hormones, it's important to know how to feed or not feed this good equilibrated function. So it's better to respect night. Well, I used to recommend daily hours to meal, to have food, and when night is coming, is the moment to rest, also to rest our digestion. And I used to recommend them to cut the association of social event and food event, because I used to recommend a skip dinner, but not a skip social event. You can be also with people sharing just a cup of tea or just some broth, and that doesn't, it's not necessary to skip that social event. So I used to work with these ideas with my patients.
So basically, you're saying skip dinner, better, prefer. Okay, that's fine. So you guys are making me totally confused. Yeah.
I want to say something.
通通就送过去，他对这没多。
Listen,
Mm.
I want to say something that daily my patient giving advisor things. So I always say that, oh, don't worry about the breakfast and then lunch, but dinner must be something just cover the hungers. Because maybe Prince almost already mentioned in the Tibetan medicine king what were the things, but in my feeling is people who eat very big dinner and then sleep, and then next morning when you wake up, you definitely different physical and the mind getting dull or something. If you don't eat dinner very heavy, so you can see next morning how you having fun, because dinner is not only one day, mistaken. It's if you eat dinner every day making heavy dinner, and then next day having trouble, and then all day having trouble, and then dinner again and again. These kind of problems are making, which is process things. So I prefer not eating dinner.
Yeah, thank you. Well, now what I will do is I will eat dinner earlier.
Yeah, that's good.
And eat dinner earlier, and I have breakfast earlier. But I have friends, they will not come with me unless we eat. Thank you very much, everybody. So it's wonderful to have you. And probably, hopefully, maybe we can do it another time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody.